For over 4 decades, one country has been at the center of almost every major conflict in the Middle East. Not always fighting directly, but always present, always involved. This is the story of Iran, a nation of 90 million people, one of the oldest civilizations on Earth, and why it has been at war, in one form or another, for most of the last 50 years. To understand Iran's wars, you have to start in 1979. That year, a popular revolution overthrew Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a Western-backed monarch who had ruled for decades. In his place came Ayatollah Khomeini and an Islamic Republic unlike anything the world had seen. Within months, Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. The relationship between Iran and the West, particularly the United States, has never recovered. That single event set the stage for everything that followed. In September 1980, Iraqi President Saddam Hussein invaded Iran. He expected a quick victory over a country still destabilized by revolution. Instead, he got 8 years of one of the bloodiest conflicts since World War II. Over 1 million people died. Chemical weapons were used. Cities were bombed. Neither side truly won. When the ceasefire came in 1988, the borders were almost exactly where they started. But Iran emerged with something Saddam hadn't planned for, a battle-hardened military and a generation shaped entirely by war. After the Iran-Iraq War, Iran made a strategic decision. It would never fight alone again. Instead, it built a network of allied groups across the region: Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq and Syria. This became known as the axis of resistance. Iran's logic was simple. By supporting these groups, it could project power across the Middle East without putting its own soldiers on foreign soil. Critics call it state-sponsored conflict. Iran calls it regional solidarity. Either way, it fundamentally reshaped the Middle East for the next 30 years. Running parallel to all of this was Iran's nuclear program. Iran says it is for peaceful energy. Much of the world suspected otherwise. In 2015, Iran signed the JCPOA, the nuclear deal, agreeing to limit its program in exchange for sanctions relief. 3 years later, the United States withdrew. Sanctions returned, harder than before. Iran's economy contracted. Its currency collapsed. Ordinary Iranians paid the heaviest price, and Iran responded by accelerating its nuclear enrichment, bringing it closer to weapons-grade material than at any point in its history. By 2024, the conflict entered a new phase. Following the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel and the war in Gaza, the entire region was pulled toward direct confrontation. For the first time in history, Iran launched a direct missile and drone strike on Israeli territory in April 2024, over 300 projectiles. Israel responded. The cycle of strikes and counterstrikes that followed marked a shift from shadow war to something far more open. The world watched to see if it would spiral into something larger. Iran's wars are not simple. They are the product of revolution, geography, ideology, and decades of decisions made by governments far beyond its borders. The Iranian people, their poets, their scientists, their students, have lived through all of it. The story of Iran and its wars is still being written, and understanding it is one of the most important things you can do to make sense of the world today. If you want to understand more stories like this, stories that explain why the world is the way it is, subscribe. There's a lot more to cover.